never came.
refreshing and refreshing and refreshing.
Just stressed out at work, because that's the only printer I
It still comes down to, oh my gosh, it's an 8-week class, that's right. As opposed to, we just had a lab, so, I got some time. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hand back, while you're doing the lab, I'm gonna hand some stuff back to you, including the test. Test corrections. Let's talk about test corrections.
Hold on. Yeah.
If you failed the test, you can bring it up to a C. If you got an A on the test, you can bring it up to an A+. And then it's scaled from there. So if you had a C on the test, which is a 2.0, that can be brought up to whatever halfway is between these two, which is a 3.15. It's a linear relationship here. So it is, there's some people who emailed me and I gave you specifically what it can be brought up to. There's a formula. If you need to know what the best is that you can get, I can tell you. So let's say that it was a 150-point test and you got 80 points out of it. And just for the sake of ease, I'm gonna say that's a C. That means you missed 70 points. So you're now gonna try to convince me that you understand how to solve those problems. Now, when you are trying to convince me, just putting down the answer does not convince me. So just put that right there. I've had way too many 110 students who just give me an answer. That gets you nothing. If you want to know the answer at some point, ideally, I'll write out the answers and I'll post the answers so that you can see what they are, so you know what you're targeting. Because you still need to explain to me why that is the answer. So let's say that you now convince me that, so you hand it in and you understand, and I give you credit for 40 of the 70 points. You convince me that you understand how to do 4/7 of what you missed. So that's the fraction of what you'll get back. You had a C on it, and you could have brought it up to a 3.15. In other words, you could have improved your grade 1.15 points on a 4.0 scale. And so I would do the amount you convinced me divided by how much you could have convinced me times how much the maximum most you can get back, and then just add that to your original, what you got initially. And that's the grade that goes to the grade book.
So you can move the letter grade?
Yeah. Well, if you failed it, you can bring it up 2 letter grades. But it's scaled, obviously. Now, traditionally, the people down in this range have so much to do that they usually don't get full credit back because it's just a lot. I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just saying that it's your work cut out for you because you have to make up a whole lot there. The people in this range up here generally don't get full credit because the incentive's not really there. They hit a couple of low-hanging fruit and then, figure something's better than nothing. So the ones who get probably the most credit back are the ones in the middle here. Traditionally, I'm not saying that there's nothing in it that says you can't get full credit down here or full credit up here, it's just lack of incentive and a whole lot to do. Now, when it came time to figuring out your grade, I figured out your grade 3 different ways. So at the top of the test, you'll see 3 different numbers. The letter grade is based upon whatever the largest of those 3 numbers is. In some cases, the 3 numbers are roughly the same thing. It really didn't matter which one I picked, it would still be the same letter grade. In some cases, it made a difference. This goes back to my first year of teaching. I had a student could not do multiple choice worth a darn. Bomb multiple choice. 3 responses, absolutely nailed it. This is a calculus-based course. For some reason, multiple choice I'm not sure what the issue was, but diametrically different. And I thought it's just really unfair because he obviously knows his stuff and he's being penalized because of multiple choice. So the multiple ways of trying to figure out what your averages are inspired by this student. So it used to be figuring out 2 different ways. I'm now up to 3 different ways to figure it out.
And what are the 3 different ways?
One is based upon warm-ups worth 6 points each, short answers are worth 10 points each, long answer worth 15 points. And so add them up based upon the maximum number of points. Yeah, there was one question that way too many students did not understand what I was asking. So it was, and then I thought, well, it is a badly worded question. So I'm trying not to penalize you for my saying that we have a test on a Wednesday, kind of thing. So that's one way. The other way is I look at short answer, warm up, and long answer as of equal weights. And the third way is I look at every problem as of equal weight. So in this sense of 1A is worth as much as 1B, which is worth as much as problem 3, which is worth problem 5C. It's just a straight up add across the board, see what you get. And then in each of the cases, I divide by, to get the percentage, I divide by whatever the student max is. Other questions right now?
Why are the test corrections due?
Today is the 10th. All right, so I'm gonna say 2 weeks. I think it would be helpful if you have them done before the multiple choice test. If 2 weeks is, because I don't want you still working on it the last week. There's probably too much other stuff that you're gonna have to be dealing with to have to worry about that also. So if in 2 weeks you're still planning to do it, but it's not ready yet, just let me know when I'm gonna see it. But primarily the deadline is because I don't want you to have to be worrying about it at the very end. All right, so another thing, test corrections on separate paper, please. Separate paper. Do not put the test corrections on the original test. I do not want to play the game of what ink were they using the first time, and what ink are they using the second time? Or in some cases, trying to differentiate the handwriting from a month earlier to when I'm actually grading it. Because they use the exact same colors they used on the test for the test corrections. Sorry. Flashing back to some bad memories. I think in one of the videos I talked about the student who picked me up, the one who laughed in the middle of class. Yeah, he's corrections, original, same color as the original on the test. Anyway, that will not be an issue. And my preference is that you hand in the original test when you hand in the corrections. That's sort of tradition. At this point, I don't need to see the original test as much as I used to because I keep better track of how many points you got on each individual problem. There are occasions which it is useful to have it, but if not, I can deal if you want to hold on to your test. But hand it in case it happens to be one of those cases where it's useful.
Can we say before the lab?
Okay?
Thank you.
All this talk has got me anxious.
I know, like, I'm sitting here with so much anxiety.
Did anyone
I-
get a perfect score?
No.
Okay.
Did anybody do really bad?
Yeah, I mean, the grades range the full gamut.
Were you happy with this?
There were no tears of joy, but there were no tears of sadness either. I felt okay. You know, if I look at an individual score, I'm not necessarily feeling okay, but if I look at the class as a whole, I felt okay.
With the individuals?
I have had classes where there have been tears of sadness. I've also had a class where I had tears of joy, so you did not hit those extremes.
Dang it. We're just average.
Yeah, you're not average.
Wow, thanks.
You're below it. I was expecting
Would
a
you
butt.
like me to stop the video while you pass that test?
Yeah.
We're below.
I'm really